Welcome back to Mik'd Up. We're brought to you by Sterling Automotive. Big game this weekend. Last game of the regular season, rivalry game. Down, yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough word to say. Down in College Station. Our friends down there in Texas A&M, they're having a rough go at it. Everybody, from what I've been told, is handling it extremely well. They're very calm, and they're very rational about this situation. Ryan Brauninger from Texas Ags is here to explain to us how calm they are and what the feelings are like down there in College Station. Also, I think he has something to say to Jay Mitch. Jay Mitch he's a super athlete, but not athletic enough to bring back one of your homers in college. It's from what I heard.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all are aware, but I played college baseball at McNeese, and we were playing at the new box in the first year in 2009. And I think it was like the 6th or 7th inning, I hit a 3-run homer to put us up. And I think it was, I might have hit off the tip of your glove, Jay Mitch. Like, you were running it down, and I almost ran past first base because I was watching you about to put me on SportsCenter. I thought, just over your glove. And then I think maybe Ochinko and Shemp hit like back-to-back homers in the next inning, and you guys pulled away. Of course, that team was loaded, man. I mean, that was y'all's national championship team.
Hey, y'all had a squad, though. Y'all had a squad. Y'all had Jace Peterson. Y'all had a squad. Jace Peterson and the boy. Yeah, y'all had a squad that year. I remember that.
Yeah, I think we led the Southland in average that year, set the McNeese record, which still stands today in batting average as a team. We couldn't stop anybody from scoring.
Yeah. So get more athletic, Jay. That's what he's saying.
I guess I should have jumped a little high.
That's it. Get more athletic.
He hit it too hard. What do you want me to do?
Should have had Leon Landry out there.
Ryan, I appreciate you coming on the show, dude. Let's jump right into it. I know you're down there in College Station. You have a finger on the pulse of what's going on. Give us some feelings about how the fan base, how the boosters, how everybody feels about what's kind of happening right now in College Station.
Yeah, frustration. I mean, as expected, right? Whenever you have a season that A&M's had with the expectations, you come in the year ranked number 6. And, man, Mikey, if it could go bad this year in College Station, it just has. I mean, everything from, obviously people are frustrated with the play calling and the time management on Jimbo's part, but then you go into the recruiting and people are frustrated about recruiting, but you've also had just an insane amount of injuries. Like, I've never seen a football team get this beat up throughout the course of the year. We knew that they were going to rely heavily on that 2022 number 1 recruiting class, but I don't know that they thought they were going to rely this much on them, right? So there was a graphic that came out from one of these SEC stat Twitter pages last week that A&M has had 100% of their snaps this year. They've had a true freshman on the field. Wow. And at that point, going into last week, 4,800 snaps on the season by true freshmen, which doubled the number 2 team in the conference, which is Ole Miss. So, like I said, we knew that they were going to rely on that 2022 class a lot, but, I mean, you're really digging deep into it now with all the injuries and stuff.
You talked about the class. You talked about the recruiting class. Obviously, it was historic, right? It was, by all accounts, the number 1 recruiting class in the history of recruiting based off of ratings and rankings and all of those types of things. With the portal and the way that the nature of college football nowadays, how much of that 2022 recruiting class is going to be intact come next year with the portal?
Man, it's hard to put your finger on that stuff, right? Because I think the portal's so fickle. How many times do we see kids go into the portal only to stay at the school that they were coming out of the portal from? Or they say they're going in, they meet with certain coaches and certain people on campus, and they don't ever go in. So it's hard to put your finger on exactly what's going to happen, next week and the next coming weeks from A&M. But from what we understand, I think they're going to do a pretty good job of keeping a lot of those kids in College Station. Now, you won't keep all of them. I don't think there's a program in the country that's going to keep all of them. I know you guys are having a sensational season in Baton Rouge, but I would expect there to be some attrition from LSU too, and it's going to happen. It's just the nature of the beast, like you said, Mikey. Like, how do you do it now? How do you navigate a college football season in a landscape, in an environment, and keep all your kids, everybody happy on a 105-man roster? I just don't know how you do it.
So I would imagine that it would be very hard to actually execute the thing I'm about to talk about, but I would imagine the seats pretty hot in College Station right now. And I've seen it brought up nationally a couple times, so I want to know how much of the conversation is between what Jimbo has done over his tenure there so far compared to what Kevin Sumlin did in his tenure there. And let this be known. I love Jimbo too. It was great, but the numbers are the numbers right now. So I want to know how much that conversation is coming up.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and that's a popular thing to tweet every time Jimbo loses, right? We get it from Baton Rouge and Austin and Norman and Fayetteville and Tuscaloosa.
A lot of enemies.
Yeah. But, the thing that got Kevin Sumlin in hot water wasn't the first, let's say 40 games of his career.
It was the helicopter.
It was the second 40. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if Jimbo has a back half of his coaching tenure at A&M like Kevin Sumlin did, then they're going to suffer the same fate, right? So, Jimbo's not going anywhere this offseason. I don't think that the contract is structured as such where you can get him out.
But I was about to say,
a lot of money has
no
to be
way
forked
he can
over,
leave
huh?
there right now.
This isn't a place that's short on money, but that's still a hefty check to sign, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Staying on the Jimbo topic, right? Obviously, Jimbo is known for being an offensive-minded guy. He's known for developing quarterbacks. He's known for having success in that realm of football. What has been, outside of the injuries, what has been the issue with his offense? Some people say he's outdated. Some people say that he needs to give up play calling duties. What do you feel like the change going forward will be for A&M to be able to take that next jump, to be as good as their talent is on the team?
Well, yeah, and you've seen a lot of head coaches, successful college football head coaches, give up play callings on either side of the ball. Nick Saban handed it to Kirby. Mike Gundy handed off the offensive play calling duties early in his career. Mac Brown did it at Texas. I just think that when you watch A&M play, there's certainly talent there. But Jimbo's trying to manage the entire thing, and he's trying to call plays, and he's trying to work the officials, and then he's trying to manage the clock. Like it's a lot of stuff, man. And one thing we know about Jimbo is the kids continue to play hard for him. Like, it would have been easy for A&M to mail it in this year with all the stuff that's gone on. But when you watch them play on Saturdays and you listen to them talk, like with their NIL interviews and stuff like that, they're still pretty hooked up. They still play really hard for the guys. So I don't think that there's a lack of belief in the locker room in Jimbo. But I do think just kind of a restructuring of his organization is something that he's going to have to do, probably starting here in the next week. But when you watch him play offense, you're going to go, man, number 15, Connor Wickman, he's really, really good. Number 1, Evan Stewart, he's really, really good. What's hurt them on Saturdays is the offensive line play has been pretty bad all year. They go through phases where it's okay, and they're certainly better with Wickman back there because he plays the game a little bit quicker, gets the ball out a lot quicker. But they've been really, really bad for all the skill talent that they've got. It can't work because they're really struggling up front. And they've also, let's just go through the injuries on the offensive line. Your starting left tackle is playing, and he shouldn't be. He's basically on one leg.
Right.
You've got you've played 5 guys at left guard this year. 5, all scholarship guys. You played 5 guys at left guard. Your starting center, freshman All-American, out for the year. Your right guard has been in and out of the lineup. The only guy that's been in the starting rotation all year is your right tackle. And so it's just been musical chairs up there. It's not allowed them to have any kind of continuity and consistency on offense, especially with a group that was struggling to begin with. But that's why A&M, I think their biggest shortcomings this year on offense have started up front.
I have a question for you.
Why'd you say it so calmly?
Because I feel bad. We talked to Billy Lucci today. He was down bad. I know where A&M's been because LSU has been there before where you're just kind of my hands are tied. But when you see Jimbo with the glasses falling off his face, he has a notebook and a play sheet and another play sheet, and it's just, when you see it, it is easy to make fun of because it looks like a guy that's studying for a final that is not ready to take the test, and the test is right now. And so I'm just wondering what A&M feels like whenever they see Jimbo. Is it getting to that point where you're kind of, if it wasn't the contract, did Scott Woodward actually play 4D chess on y'all, and you're like, oh, man, he was moving to LSU this entire time?
Okay, that's a little stretch.
Well, you can't judge the contract now because what would have happened
Inflation.
if LSU would have gotten him? No. What would have happened? What would everybody have said had LSU gotten him when they made their run at him, last offseason? So you had to pay up to keep him, right? Because Scott was was pulling the strings to try to get him to Baton Rouge.
Oh, really?
And so, like, you would have lost a lot of that recruiting class. At the time, you had to do what you had to do to get him. Now, you can argue 50 different ways about the validity of it, the length of it, the guaranteed money, all that. But it is what it is right now, and you had to do it to keep him in College Station, which obviously at the time everybody believed was the best move for A&M.
Yeah, obviously, Jimbo's going through it right now. It's been a tough go. I mean, I think we all in here, Jay Mitch obviously has played for him. He's seen him firsthand. I think we all think he's a really good coach. I think if the players are still playing for him, sometimes you just have an unfortunate season. You don't want to have back-to-back seasons. But going forward into this year, right? You have one game left. You're playing LSU at home, away, a game that you basically. I mean, why do you have to rub it in his face?
You guys are trolling me here.
What are you doing with us, man?
You feel bad for me, then pop this picture.
I mean, what is happening? But
this is all Lloyd's doing. This is all Lloyd.
This is Lloyd. This is Lloyd's deal. But you have the opportunity as A&M, right? Obviously, the A&M LSU rivalry since they came in the SEC has been pretty hot. So good that they moved the LSU Arkansas game out of the last game of the season to LSU A&M. You'd imagine that if they go ahead and they upset LSU and ruin LSU's dreams and hopes this weekend, that kind of can validate some of the things moving forward. Moving forward, right? What are some of the things that you need to see from A&M this weekend to say, okay, they have a legitimate shot, or what do they need to do to be able to beat or upset LSU?
Oh, wrong picture. My bad. Back to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they're gonna have to figure out a way to block Harold Perkins, which nobody has. And you guys know my main job here at TexAgs, I cover the baseball team, but during the fall and a lot of the spring too, I'm a recruiting analyst. So I'm on the recruiting trail, and Greater Houston's my area. So I got to know Harold extremely well. Covered a ton of his games there at Cy Park on the northwest side of Houston. He's been sensational. I mean, off the charts good. He's certainly going to be a problem. I don't know what you can do. I don't think there's a way you block him or scheme around him. He's too good. To me, he's the best defensive player I've seen at LSU since Devin White. And I thought when Devin White came in here in College Station, he was the best linebacker I'd ever watched play on Kyle Field from an opposing team standpoint. And then, I think they'll do okay. They've been okay. They've been fine on defense, and they've got a ton of athletes on defense, especially in the front seven, a bunch of kids that can really run, but they're all so stinking young. The defense is playing more freshmen than the offense is, and that by a lot, and they're beat up too. So, but they're athletic. The pieces are there. They're just super young. Jaden Daniels seems like he's gotten more and more comfortable. I think what Brian Kelly's done, I watched y'all in week 1 against Florida State, and I was like, well, they got a long way to go on offense. And then I watched A&M in week 1. I'm like, man, they're pretty good on offense. And look how all that's flipped on its head on 180, right? But I think containing the LSU running game, make Jaden Daniels, if you can, make him beat you with his arm. And then figure out a way to get your hands on footballs to give your offense some kind of short fields. Maybe a Devon A-chain kick return. You've got to do something, I feel like, non-offensive to either score points or put yourself in a really good position to score points. Because, going 70, 80 yards against this LSU defense with what A&M's got on offense right now, I just don't see – I don't think it's going to happen very much. And that's – I don't want that to be a commentary, guys, on what I think of the talent at A&M. I think Connor Wigman is a super stud. I think – with the right offensive system, this guy is going to throw for a lot of yards and put A&M in a position to win a lot of games. And I think Evan Stewart's one of the best young receivers in college football in the SEC. So there's talent. There's plenty of talent here. But at this point in the year, you are what you are, and they're not going to change it in 1 week. So you're going to have get some help from LSU. But I know just getting the vibe from the kids on campus and, the students – felt like they were called out with that picture your boy just popped up there. They felt like they were being called out on Saturday. Let me tell you something, dude. A 1-9 football team against a 3-7 or whatever it was football team in those conditions, there's no weather worse than what was in College Station on Saturday.
Right.
It was 38 degrees, sideways rain that never stopped.
Yeah.
So windy that was blowing it sideways for legitimately from 9 in the morning until about 7:30 at night. It never stopped. So I don't blame people for bailing. And those pictures were taken out after halftime. And look, I get it, man. When you're having a season like A&M's having, everybody's coming for their pound of flesh anytime they can. So you get it, you take it on the chin. But I do think that the students took that as like a call out maybe, and they showed up big time from what we understand for the ticket pool today. So this is A&M's bowl game, man. And like, how do you want to go out? It's certainly not been the season that you expected or anybody expected in College Station, but like kind of what kind of stamp do you want to put on it going into the offseason?
One small follow-up. Two things. One, the weather this past weekend at LSU wasn't great either. It wasn't a huge turnout on senior night, so I get that. I understand that, obviously. We're playing. But what took you talk about Weekman, you talk about how good he is and how talented he is. What took so long to get him in the lineup as a starting quarterback, right? Because it didn't seem like Haynes King was doing all that good. Obviously, you had Max Johnson, but like
throwing motion in the country.
Yeah, throwing motion is a little funky from Haynes King. What took so long to get Weigman in the lineup as a starting quarterback?
Yeah, I just think getting comfortable with Jimbo's offense and Jimbo feeling like he had a good enough grasp of what he wanted his quarterback to do. And, you know, Haynes started the year and was not good. The thing about Haynes is his dad, you know, is a head coach at Longview High School. Haynes has got like a Texas high school football legend. It's real kind of Friday Night Lightish with Haynes. With his story, and he's such a just incredible kid, super tough. Like he played against Florida a few weeks ago and had no business playing against Florida with a bad shoulder, with a crazy bad turf toe, and he's out there kind of just trying to will himself through a game. But he started the year as a starter, and then they handed it to Max Johnson, and Max was playing pretty well. Like I feel like Max was doing at A&M what you saw him do at LSU. Like he'll keep you in the game, he'll surprise you athletically sometimes. Real calming, kind of mature kid, good leadership qualities, and then he bangs his thumb on a helmet against Mississippi State. And for a quarterback, that killed the season. I mean, he was out for the year after that, and then you go back to Haynes, and while Connor's continuing to try to get ready. But once they inserted Connor, you saw a little bit of life in that South Carolina game where he had him within a touchdown late. Couldn't pull off like an incredible Hail Mary, and then they gave him the ball as the starter for an entire week leading up to Ole Miss. And I mean, he shredded Ole Miss. He was sensationally good against Ole Miss, and that was kind of the question around here was like, all right, well, he was clearly the most talented guy. Like, what took so long to get him on the field? But it's his job now. It's his job in the future. It's his program in the future. There's a lot of folks wearing maroon and white that are hanging their hat on the future of number 15 in College Station, and rightly so. Like, for you don't know, if y'all don't know, Mikey, I coach travel baseball. I've been coaching travel baseball since 2010. Connor Weigman played for our academy, so I've seen him since he was about 12 or 13 years old. And just in every setting, when the lights go on, it didn't matter if it was a tournament with nobody there, if they were in Atlanta or at the big tournaments in Melissa or Florida, whatever. It's like when it was time to go and the lights were the brightest, that guy was the best player on the field, and he like kind of willed himself to do it. So I'm not surprised at the success he's had. And I think like he's the guy that you hang your hat on going forward, and there's your hope in the offseason.
So I know what I'm kind of expecting out of this thing, but you touched on the amount of young kids that are playing. You touched on how much they're playing. You're getting down to the end of the regular season schedule, right? Which basically means there's experience in there. What are you expecting to see, whether it's wherever the motivation is coming from, but what kind of product are you expecting to see out of this A&M team to basically close out their regular season this year in this last game?
Yeah, it's hard to put your finger on that too, J-Mitch, just because, I mean, you are what your record says you are, and what we've watched all year offensively, like I said, like how is that going to change in 1 week? But I do think with the kids wanting to go out on a high note, like I said, like a bowl game, I would expect some emotion to come out, man. Like I would expect it to be a pretty rowdy atmosphere. I do think there'll be a lot of purple and gold in College Station. I got people from Lake Charles driving up and staying at my house that I played college ball with, and to come check it out. But I do think that there'll be a lot of purple and gold in the stadium, but should be a good atmosphere. And I think something's got to happen early, Jared, for A&M to stay in the game and like kind of give them some hope. So if you're LSU, you're going, okay, like don't let them hang around. Right. Don't give them false hope because they are talented enough. A&M's talented enough to beat LSU.
Yeah.
LSU's going to have to help them out.
They're as talented as anyone in the country. Let's just be honest about it.
Yeah, and I think, don't you guys think that there's like there's kind of a temperature line in the conference where I think like Arkansas, A&M, Mississippi State, Ole Miss to a certain extent, Like, they could all be having anywhere from 8-3 to 3-8, 4-8 seasons. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I feel like there's a big group of teams that are right there. Even when you go into the East, like, the margins are so fine in this conference, and the ball's certainly not bounced A&M's way, and a lot of that is their own doing. So you're not looking for excuses. But I'm watching games on Saturday, Arkansas and Ole Miss, and going, man, A&M beat Arkansas,
right,
and then they lost to Ole Miss. Like, the margins are so fine. And you guys know, like, in baseball, any weekend in baseball, like, one pitch can determine the outcome of a series because all these teams are so evenly talented. So I don't think A&M's close to LSU this year, but I do think their temperature check where you've got to be above a certain line to win games against talented teams. A&M's got the temperature to hang with a Bama, to hang with an LSU, to hang with a Tennessee because they've got the talent.
You talk about the talent, and obviously it's been quite the stir in Baton Rouge about the players that are on Texas A&M's team that are from Louisiana. And so for the people that are kind of projecting into what's going to happen maybe in the future when you look at the A&M roster and you look at the transfer portal, is there a little bit of, I guess, cause for concern with what's going on in A&M when you have a Matthews and you have a Denver Harris that all have ties to Louisiana? Does that almost play to your benefit a little bit whenever it's like they want to show out in front of their home state, say that we came to A&M for a reason, or is it this is a tryout to see like I'd like to play in Baton Rouge?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know exactly what's going to happen today. I wish I'd give you a better answer, but things are extremely up in the air, and I don't anticipate kids from Louisiana leaving just to go to LSU. I think kids may go into the portal and see what happens. But again, like, I don't have that definitively that Jacoby Matthews or Le'Veon Moss, those are two freshmen from Louisiana. Marshall Harris is a kid that grew up in Baton Rouge and went to the Woodlands up, North Houston. We're seeing more and more of him each week at linebacker. Actually had a strip sack against Massachusetts last week. So it's hard, like, right? Because all these kids, if you say they're going into the portal because A&M's having a bad season, but they're also playing a bunch. And they're probably going to play a bunch again next year. So do you go jump into a situation where I'm playing in the SEC West every week and I'm playing 60 snaps, 50 snaps a game? Or do I go somewhere where the roster may look a little better, but I may not be on the field as much? Like, I think in today's college athletics, like, you go somewhere where you're playing. Like, you don't have time to waste anymore. And that's what we see. Like, I see on the baseball side so much is that everybody grows up and they want to go to LSU, A&M, Texas, Arkansas to play baseball, and then they get there, they're going, well, I'm not going to play for 2 years. Let me go somewhere I can play. So I think playing time early in a career is, like, really, really valuable. Like, if you're somewhere where you're on the field, why would you give that up?
Yeah, no, I feel you. It's the portal. The portal thing is a crazy wrinkle in college sports, right? I think that eventually it's gonna. I don't want to say even itself out because I don't think it'll ever even itself out. But I think it's like the longer the portal is here, the more stable I feel like it's gonna get. There's gonna be some sort of. I mean, you saw last year. There's so many guys.
What do you think should happen, though, Mikey? Do you think we should continue to allow the free transfers as much as you want?
So I don't. I think there should be each team should have a limit on transfers they can take in, right? Like the limit should be, hey, you know what? If every team wants to take in 7 guys out the portal, you can take 7 guys out the portal, right? You can't be unlimited on the amount of guys you can get. I feel like now, obviously, there's, the portal has helped LSU immensely this year because
I think it should be a however many games you actually played over, I don't know, let's say 50% of the snaps in the game. That's how many games you have to set out if you're going to go transfer somewhere else, especially for the second time.
Yeah.
If you're going to transfer somewhere else the next year. Something to limit you from just saying, I didn't get everything I wanted, I'm out.
Now, obviously, you have the NIL stuff too, which obviously throws a whole nother wrinkle into it because now it's professional sports, and they're going to be – I mean, I can't imagine the schools that are going to be knocking on Harold Perkins' door this year and saying, hey, we're going to give you this amount of money to come play at our school. Now, at some point, you have to think, well, okay, is it about the money or is it about, hey, I've made a name for myself here. I'm going to be an All-American. I'm going to be the best player. I'm going to be in the NFL. Like, at some point, it's got to be – you got to figure out what's important.
And my thoughts to it is if it goes that way, you get less of the NIL push on the side, knowing that, hey, well, he's not going to be on the field if we get him here. So why are we really going after him right now?
Yeah.
I wish it's so funny when all this stuff started coming up, and like we're trying to prognosticate on what's going to happen. I'm sitting there like we're talking about the things that are happening. We are talking about a year ago in February of 2020 when all this it was right before COVID, all this NIL stuff started to really ramp up. And I remember it was like Maverick Carter, LeBron James, and Gavin Newsom signing. They did all that. It was like a TV appearance or something where they signed into law in California. And I'm going this is going to change college football. And then when you add the transfer portal in it, I don't understand why people are surprised about anything that's happening right now. What did you expect?
Right. There's got to be. And listen, I'm not the old man, you need to go play for free because you're getting a scholarship. I do agree guys should get paid in school, right? Now, I think that if you're going to treat it like the NFL, be in the NFL. Listen, when I was in Major League Baseball and I was playing with Justin Verlander, who do you think had the endorsement deals? Justin Verlander. I had 0 endorsement deals. Why? Because Justin Verlander performed on the field and he had made a name for himself on the field and he has earned the right to make that money, right? I wasn't getting, hey, come to our team. We're going to give you $2 million to endorse this because we want you on our team. I don't think high school kids should be paid to come to school because you're highly touted. How many 5-stars have we seen come to school and never pan out? You know what I mean?
Sure.
Show me something on the field before we give you the money. Now, you can say, hey, you have the ability to make this, right? But it's not. That's just not the way it's set up right now. That's my take on it.
Well, there's no uniformity in it, right? Louisiana's laws are different than Texas's laws.
Right.
And so the NCAA completely dropped the ball on this when they could see it coming and they chose to do nothing because they're a spineless organization that continuously makes the wrong decision without any foresight. They let this happen. And so there's no continuity, there's no consistency because Miami or Tennessee can go in and say, we can pay you now. Right? We can pay you now because it's what our state laws say, where Louisiana and Texas, it may read a little bit different.
Yep.
But here's the thing, too. What you said, I thought that was a really poignant point that you made, Mikey, about Verlander. And it's kind of like advice that I'm hearing more and more on the recruiting trail with trainers and high school coaches talking to kids about NIL. If you choose to go to LSU because of their NIL structure, some NIL deal, and you don't play, you don't perform, you don't show up to practice, you're a problem, and you just get passed up, you ain't getting any NIL money.
Right.
You got to keep the main thing the main thing. You want to get a lot of NIL money? Be really good.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. You earn it on the field. That's all. If you want to give this kid $3 million because if you want to give Dylan Cruz $3 million, I don't think anybody's gonna be like, he hasn't earned that. You know what I mean? He's out there every day doing his thing. Same with Harold Perkins next year. Hey, Harold, maybe we gave you 150 this year, but hey, based off of what you did, how good you are, and the attention you've brought in LSU, you've earned $500,000 that you can make throughout the course of the next 2 years because of your talent.
But how do you quantify that, though?
No, right, and that's the thing, right? Because they don't.
Well, it's a free market, so somebody's judging how much that's worth, right?
Right.
You're worth whatever somebody wants to pay you for that.
Right.
But here's what it's leading to is Brian Kelly, Jimbo Fisher, Sam Pittman, Dana Holgerson at the University of Houston. You're going to have to re-recruit your roster every offseason with this stuff.
No, all throughout the year. It's not even get to the offseason. You got to re-recruit them all year, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine some guys they might be getting in the game late. They might be getting snaps later in the game just to keep them happy. You never know how this thing's going throughout the year,
Yeah, and people will start using the portal as leverage, right? And why wouldn't you? The kids have all the power now. And I'm with you, Mikey. I was all about them getting paid. What I didn't like was the inconsistencies of how the laws and the regulations were formatted across the country, that it's not an even playing field. You don't want to break the laws as an institution in your state because of how you're doing NIL. It's just not worth it. And then when you compound that with the transfer portal, which I think to clean up the transfer portal, go back to the old way. If you want to leave and you haven't graduated, you got to sit out a year. I think that would curtail a lot of these kids just jumping in there.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I get there's occurrences that happen, right? Hey, if you went to play for Texas A&M and Jimbo got fired, okay, I understand that. You should be able to have the ability to go in the portal, leave without having to sit out. Because if a coach can up and leave somewhere, even if he doesn't get fired, go somewhere else, you should have the ability to go and do that. Now, if you're going because you're upset and you didn't play and you're promised playing time, but for some reason you just didn't perform and you want to transfer because you're upset, that's, to me, that's just...
You're telling me I can't smoke weed in the locker room?
That's... Oh, Jesus, Lloyd. This guy, he's not letting you... This guy over here.
No, I can't. This guy, I guess he's a really good producer, huh?
Yeah.
Can't get rid of him.
Cut
I
it.
can't do the job. I can't do the job. But that's my point. Is like, listen, if that was the case, if that was the way it was back 4 years ago, Patrick Queen probably wouldn't have been at LSU. He didn't play till his senior season, right? He was behind the depth chart, behind all these other guys, Devin White, and he stayed, ended up being a first rounder, and now he's a legit all-pro linebacker in the NFL, right? So some guys take some time. Everybody's time frame is a little different. I think that there's got to be some cleanup in the portal. I don't know how you do it, but it needs to happen.
I don't know how you put the genie back in the bottle with any of this stuff, right?
It all falls on the NCAA.
Right. Let me ask you this. In your opinion, based off what you've watched both in football and baseball, and Jay Mitch, you too, hasn't there become a huge value in being old?
Yeah.
Like, I watched Texas A&M's baseball team go to the Final Four of the College World Series for the first time in school history, and they did it with 21, 22, and 23-year-olds.
Yeah.
Well,
That had bounced around college baseball, had 600, 700 at-bats other places, and they came in, whether they were of SEC caliber talent or not, but they were old, man. They've just been through it and seen it. And I think even in football, like Arkansas, I don't know that they're super talented, but they're old.
Yeah.
Mississippi State is old. And so, like, to bring it all back to A&M, like, of course you're going to take some lumps. I don't know that it's going to be 4 and 8 lumps like you are, but you're going to take some lumps when you're playing, 26 freshmen.
Right.
So I think it's, like you think about the college basketball side of it, right? Every year we see these uber freshmen go to these big schools, but very seldomly do you see those schools actually win it all, right? It ends up being the team that has the guys that's played together for 3 and 4 years, the guys that have been there for a while. I think you're 100% correct on this thing where it is right now. It's almost like it's completely flipped.
Yeah.
And on top of that, when you add in, hey, I can make some money now, there's real staying power in staying in college longer right now.
Yep.
And for these bigger schools like the LSUs and the A&Ms, it's man, I'd love to have that 18-year-old freshman here. We'd love to get him here, but man, we got this guy who's got 2,000 college at bats. We got this guy who's played 1 million snaps already. He has the experience in this league. Get him here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's turned into.
I think it will kind of maybe sift some of that out once the COVID guys get out.
Right.
Yep.
Because remember, they're still in the rosters in college athletics where you can have a 23-year-old and he's still a senior, right? So once all that gets out, and I'll tell you who it's really screwing, guys, is the recruits.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are kids that are going to be late bloomers in high school
100%.
that would normally be the late.
The young kids are the ones that are getting screwed right now.
Well,
Yep,
and Brian
absolutely.
Kelly. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, but like if you're a coach, Mikey, and you want to win, right? Like this kid may be really good, and I think he's going to be good in a couple of years. But I can go get Florida State shortstop who's unhappy to come in and help me win games right now. Like I'm going to put my money because I get paid to win. I'm going to bet on the older guy.
And it even goes past what your wants are. Like your job's to win. Like your livelihood is on, am I going to win here or not? Well, I mean, who are you betting on right now? The guy with experience that may be a little bit better, or are you waiting for the guy to develop here?
Yeah, now listen, I agree with that. I think that the older experienced guys are more beneficial, especially in baseball, but definitely in football too. I think that it's hard to sustain a program by just living in the portal, right? Like you may have 1 or 2 years being really good, but eventually those older guys are going to leave, and these younger guys don't have experience, and these younger guys don't really have the guys that they've built that connection with for 2, 3, 4 years to have that, camaraderie and like that feel of like, damn, we are a team, right? So Brian Kelly said it a few weeks ago. He said, listen, you can't sustain this success with just living in the portal. You have to go and recruit young kids, and you basically top it off with the portal, right? fill in some gaps with guys who fit what you want, fit your program, fit the culture to be able to put those in a position to play now and ease these young guys up. And I think it goes even more so for baseball because you played it. Baseball is, if you don't like the guy next to you, you ain't going to play. It's not going to be a fun season. You're not going to really come together and win because, you can be as talented as you want. But if you ain't trying to do it for the guy next to you, it's hard to really get to. I mean, you look at talented teams all over the place that don't really pull through because, one reason or another, they don't seem like they like each other. But I'm with you. I think the older guys have a they're important to the teams, but I think there needs to be a mix.
I think you're 100% right.
And I think too, at the big schools like LSU and A&M and Texas and all them, like you have to sustain your program through high school recruiting. It's good for the relationships in the state. It's good for like being able to walk into living rooms and talk to kids in Louisiana and in Texas is like, look, we're bringing these kids in and we're cultivating them as human beings and you can show growth in your program, right? And so you're right, Mikey. Like if you just rely on the portal, you better get it right every year and you better be really good at building culture, right? Because you're bringing in a whole new batch of guys that have been told different things by other college coaches already. Right. So that synergy is going to be really tough to build every year.
Yep. And although y'all are not wrong, I do think personally when I think of the portal, what I think of what it screws these young kids out of is think back, like if you were bringing Justin Jefferson into LSU right now, is he going to be here? He came in here as a 2-star.
Right.
He wouldn't be here.
No.
Right. They're going to go get someone else. So you never see that guy blossom the way he did here. And maybe everything about being here is what turned him into the person that he is today. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So, like, it's not so much about building a team, but like we said, like, if it ain't the top flight guy, they're just going to go get older guys. Yeah. And that's where I think the young kid who needs to come in, who needs some seasoning, who needs a little time, is going to miss out when they should possibly be at schools like this. Yeah.
No doubt. I'm glad I don't have to make the rules, and I'm glad I'm not in the room trying to make these decisions because it's a tough one, man. Because it goes both ways, and it's like you said, it's hard to put the genie back in the bottle.
Can't put Pandora back in the box.
It's hard to put Pandora back in the box, dude. I appreciate your
sad,
time. I kept you a lot longer than I thought I was, but this was good conversation. I'm glad you're asking me questions. This is good. That's how I want the show to be. Before I let you go, though. No, go ahead.
I appreciate you guys having me on. Hey, we can do this again in baseball season, man.
That's what I was.
That's what you've already pivoted to
that's
baseball.
What I was actually about to. I was about to segue.
Basketball might be good.
Basketball actually is pretty solid this year. Y'all gonna be all right in basketball. But I was about to segue.
Yeah, Buzzing's got involved a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your buzzing?
What's the baseball team look like going into this year? I was gonna end you on the baseball subject anyway.
Yeah, we do a lot of work with Kendall Rogers. Been talking to him about some of the preseason stuff, and with my role as a travel baseball coach, I've got kids that I've coached that are all over the country, and so I get kind of feedback from everybody. I think this A&M preseason wise, I think they're going to be a top 5 team, man. They are really good, and they returned so many guys and so many offensive weapons off last year's Omaha club. They've gotten much bigger physically. There's a kid that was. I think we have a mutual acquaintance, Mikey. He was a recruiter at LSU. Now he's a recruiter at A&M.
Yeah, I think I need to get rid of him. Bring him back over here.
He's the worst person that ever lived over there, isn't he? He's
Let him hit the portal.
So is the hitting coach too.
So he got a kid that was committed to LSU and brought him with him to College Station. He's probably going to start in left field. 6'6", 230-pound left-handed hitter. Had a 507-footer against Lamar in the fall game. So they're going to be extremely physical. They're very, very talented, and they're old. And we just talked about that. So, Schloss has got to get it right from the synergy perspective. There's a big hole behind the plate. They got to find a catcher, and who's going to do that? It's obviously a hugely important position. But, they're poised. If you're going to make a preseason Omaha 8, I'd have A&M in it.
I love that. I think that LSU goes to College Station. I've never been to College Station in my life because they came in the conference after. I think we should make a trip.
Would be a bad trip.
We should make a trip to go see our friend, friend Nolan Kane down there and see what he can do. Go heckle him, and our new friend Ryan. Go heckle him down at third baseline.
Stop at Daryl's on the way over. Stop at Daryl's. Get me up a Daryl special.
I'll hook you up. I will bring you a Daryl special, no doubt. Dude, I appreciate it, man. We'll have you back on baseball season, no doubt. And, man, this was fun. You're awesome.
Hold on, real quick.
Appreciate
Oh,
it,
yeah, I
guys.
forgot. You do have one
Yeah,
more
yeah.
question.
One more before you go. And I know I've been trolling. I'm not trying to troll anymore. What is the actual feeling in College Station? Because I've been saying for the last 2 weeks that I do feel like A&M is a live dog in this scenario where they have the talent. But after what we saw, obviously, this weekend, not the best effort by the fan base. You tried to kill 2 people that were praying of the Minutemen with the cannon. So, that's, I mean, it's all is fair in love and war. But I'm saying, like, is there an actual expectation? Because what's the spread, Mikey?
I think it's 10 now.
It's only 10, and LSU was just at UAB at 14.5. So LSU's still not getting, like, the real respect from Vegas. But I believe that's because A&M is a live dog in this scenario. Is that the same feeling down at Yale practice on midnight tonight or Friday?
Well, I don't go to those. I'm out covering. You still got a jab in. You still got a jab
Hey,
in.
That was more than one jab.
Yeah,
Let's
he's
be
trying.
honest.
Listen.
Yeah. He started saying, I'm not going to troll. And then he trolled. He got a real question in. No, I think it'll be a fun atmosphere. I think I don't know that it'll sell out, but I think it'd be getting close to 100,000. And you know, as long as A&M can hang around and make a game of it, I think the fan base will be into it. So I think I'm excited personally to watch the young guys one more time and then kind of see where it goes in this offseason. There's kind of a lot of things being talked about, but until they're put into action, you just don't know. So it's going to be up to Jimbo to make the necessary changes. I think that's going to happen probably starting on Sunday and Monday of next week, and then A&M will try to close a recruiting class. But yeah, man, it's tough to say that the fan base is going to be as riled up as they normally would whenever they're going in at 4-7.
How many times have you been kicked out of travel baseball tournaments?
0.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Come on, dude.
Once or twice.
Not everybody's like
Well,
Lloyd.
not Danny. Not Danny.
Ryan, dude, I appreciate it, man. You're awesome. And enjoy the game this weekend. We'll have you back on for sure in a few months during baseball season.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Awesome, man.
All right, man.
Very good.
See you.
Yeah, appreciate it.